Gloom Stalker Phantom. Now that's a cool edgy class.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be so scary.
How is it scary? What about it is scary? Oh, the sneak attack damage?
Gloom. Stalker.
No, just
Those
like
are
it would
both
be like
spooky words.
Yeah.
Oh.
Welcome to Monsters in Multiclass, your Dungeons and Dragons fix. I'm Ellioti.
I'm Jared Mornigal.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And on this episode, we are continuing our Redux series with the Ranger Rogue. In our Redux series, we take a look at old multiclasses that we covered, now through the eyes of more experience and the new changes that have come out since in 5th edition, which there has been a lot over the years. So let's dive into the Ranger Rogue again.
Yes. So the Ranger Rogue multiclass. Rangers are our hunters, the nature warriors. The man in the corner wearing a hood that obscures his face a little bit. They are half-fasters. That's what I wanted to say.
Half-asters.
They're half-asters. They're half-casters, mostly martial-focused, and take 13 dex and 13 wisdom to multiclass in or out of. Rogues are street urchins, the smooth-talking bandits, the assassin, the man in the corner wearing a hood that obscures his face. Takes 13 dexterity to multiclass in and out of. So, first thoughts. Let's go with Ellie.
This one's overall great. I'm pretty sure when we did this back in 2019, that's the conclusion we came to then. And it's only just gotten better with all of the stuff added to the Rangers and Tashas and the stronger subclasses that have come out for each. And then I think there's a lot more roleplay versatility, especially with the new subclasses that have come out. Rogues have a lot of really unique, cool stuff that has happened, along with Rangers as well. And so I think there's a lot of cool new things to talk about. And definitely a solid character. I think it'd be hard to go wrong.
Yeah, I think
actually that's not true. There's a couple things that could really go wrong, and we'll get to those. But
I think if I remember correctly, you and I both liked this one a lot, and then Will hated it because flavor. So let's see, Will, what are your first thoughts? If you're still feeling the same way,
I have mixed feelings. It's a lot of the benefits that come with the rogue are basically universal, and when you remove the limitation of the dex requirement, which you do in this case, it's great. You can do bonus action things. Cool. You have some optional features that are really good. But the Ranger does have some bonus action things that get in the way. And I think what I've come to the conclusion of is that I don't like the rogue's flavor so much. And I've always wanted it to be more expanded into the kind of Ranger-esque direction. And there is some things there. These days, it's probably just a little bit more elaborate with soul knives and crazy stuff like that, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I get that to some extent. Like rogues, I don't know what it is, but if you're not trying to play the criminal aspect, there's always something that just feels a little bit lacking. And I don't think most people want to play a criminal rogue. I mean, some people do, of course. It's a trope for a reason. It's totally fine. But
they
when
just
you
want
do
their D6s,
right? I think you've played 2 rogues recently, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
So you played one full rogue. That was the what was the thief, right? Or what was your subclass? I don't remember.
Come to a table and play a thief.
You were Carl Horse Thief. So
right,
excuse me.
Soul Knife.
It was Soul Knife. You're right. I don't think that was ever.
No, it was Phantom. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
either way, I don't think that was ever explained. It didn't have to be. But yeah, so you played that, and now you're playing I think you just picked Scout as your subclass, begrudgingly.
Yeah, begrudgingly.
Yeah, which very much is the Ranger Rogue multi-class subclass.
Mm-hmm.
It even gives a lot of overlap in abilities. What do you get? You get from Scout, you get Survivalist at 3rd level, which gains proficiency in nature and survival and gives you double your proficiency bonus in those ability checks. So you're basically getting expertise in nature and survival. And then at 9th level, your walking speed. I can't talk today. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. And if you have a climbing or swimming speed, this increase applies to that speed as well. The Rangers have the optional class feature at 6th level of your walking speed increases by 5, and you gain a climbing speed and swimming speed. So not that it's like so much overlap that they don't have any synergy. I'm just saying that there's obvious takes from both sides here.
I would say the overlap really only is through the roleplay perspective between Scout and Ranger, because Scout is like the naturalist, the survivalist out in the woods, and that's very much what a Ranger is as well in D&D. Mechanically, there's nothing really other than the nature and survival proficiency. 2 skill proficiencies, I don't think it makes it like, if you want to be a Ranger Rogue, play the Scout, like, because you get no spell casting and all of the other cool Ranger abilities.
Yeah, that's fine. I was not saying that that's like it's a fill-in and that you shouldn't multi-class because the Scout is there. Just that they're both, I guess, alluding to the same thing of being a person out in the wild who's kind of a, I guess, a hunter is the best way to put it.
Sure.
Or just a survivalist.
A Scout.
Yeah, but even that just like feels really limiting, because a scout to me is like you're specifically going out and scouting for someone else, for other people, for that like type of recon aspect, and you don't need to play scout that way.
Sure.
Like you don't have to. In terms of, I mean, see, the only like disconnect I see from a flavor perspective is that with most of the other rogue themes, subclasses, everything, it does talk about a very urban survivalist type deal, whereas the Ranger is, of course, the outdoor survivalist. So, it's not impossible to marry those flavors, but it does create some challenges in terms of how your rogue can transfer over to that Ranger feeling.
What about the rogue says that to you?
Literally everything they put into the flavor text of them joining thieves guilds and being urban explorers and working underhanded deals and things like that. It's one aspect of the rogue that again is put into the class. I mean, thieves can't, for example.
I was talking mechanically. Thieves can't is the only one I think that were mechanically.
Yes,
that's
mechanically.
The case. But yeah, you're right. The flavor does really try and push that strongly, at least in the player handbook version, and then especially in Xanathars with the Mastermind and the Acquisitive Rogue. I mean, that's very much that.
Yes.
But then they get away with it with the Soul Knife and the Swashbuckler, Arcane Trickster, even, which is in the player handbook, not so much.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple subclasses, Phantom, that don't need it.
I guess Arcane Trickster, since it is a player handbook, says these rogues includes pickpockets and burglars, pranksters, mischief makers, and then some adventurers. So yeah, try and lean into it.
Okay. Well, that said, there's ways to play it otherwise. Right. I guess to some extent, I'm trying to think of how you'd play a Arcane Trickster who has zero association with being a pickpocket or anything. You're just like a sneaky bears. Dude. What?
You just bother bears.
Just play pranks on them?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. That's fine.
Like a fairy.
Like a Fey Wanderer?
Like a Fey Wanderer.
And that is one that I think does lend itself to that tricky role. So that could actually work. A Fey Wanderer, Arcane Trickster. And from that perspective, I mean, the Fey Wanderer talks a lot about how your powers are granted to you as a boon from the Feywilds. The reason being, you can kind of come up with as you'd like. One that I think makes sense is if maybe you are a naturalist, somebody who's out in the wilds, and you make a deal with a Fey creature, but not fully understanding the ramifications, or maybe you do. Maybe that part doesn't need to come into play. But they basically make you a protector of the Feywilds, or of the transference between it, trying to make sure that the material plane people stay on the material plane and don't gentrify the Feywilds or something. So you could get Arcane Trickster capabilities that way. It also mentions in the Soul Knife think the Soul Knife. Yeah, the Soul Knife, it like one sentence that I'm trying to unpack but having a hard time. It just says, amid the trees of ancient forests on the material plane and in the Feywild, some wood elves walk the path of the Soul Knife, serving as silent, lethal guardians of their woods. And that's like it. It doesn't talk about how they get Soul Knife powers, but it mentions the material plane and the Feywild. So like that kind of works with Fey Wanderer, I guess, but I don't know where they're like what that sentence is trying to invoke.
Soul Knife was made with the psionics in mind. And then they were like, you know what we shouldn't really get into? Psionics. So it kind of just was left up in the air. It's just this like, ooh, this like woo-woo magic, not magic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that I could see overlapping if your Fey entity was like, yeah, and here now you get some telekinesis powers. Go make some psychic blades and kill people trying to get into the Feywilds. Peace.
Yeah, it is just very much like kept open-ended, which should be okay.
Yeah.
And that does make it easier to marry it to Arcane Trickster, where it's all just together. Like I played a Paladin Arcane Trickster Rogue multiclass in a campaign once, and that's how that was. Why am I confused? That was numbers.
Which character? Oh. Some reason I thought you threw in a third class there. I misheard.
No. Oh,
okay.
No. And that's just kind of how it was. Like the source of his powers was all the same thing, and they manifested themselves as Arcane Trickster and the Paladin stuff. With that one, and then especially with this one as well, you do need to be careful. The Ranger uses Wisdom. Arcane Trickster has to use Intelligence. What I did was just kept Intelligence at 8 and didn't pick anything that needed it, because Arcane Trickster doesn't get a ton of that stuff. So I would just do the same thing here. Focus on Dex and Wisdom, keep Intelligence low.
Yeah, and I don't think that honestly hurts you very often. There's maybe like 2 or 3 times where you tried casting a Arcane Trickster spell with a spell save, but I don't even know if you took any.
I did not even take any.
Okay.
Like it was on purpose.
Yeah, so
I just avoided them. There was no need for it.
And that's a legitimate use. I mean, I think that's a great way to go about it. You just ignore anything that has spell save DCs, and now you're not getting the combat utility out of it most of the time. There might be a couple spells where it still overlaps, but you can still get a lot out of it without needing to focus on spell saves.
Right. Yeah, and Arcane Tricksters are limited to enchantment and illusion.
Yeah.
Which is not common, like attacking spells, damage spells, things like that. A lot of them are out of combat utility anyways.
Yeah, or Booming Blade.
Sure, yes, or that.
Which is not enchantment or illusion, but I think you get 2 spells like from that list, and then one that's outside of the list or something like that. I forget how that one works.
Oh, how did I end up with Booming Blade?
We're gonna find out after 3 years that you weren't supposed to have Booming Blade that entire campaign. I'll have to burn my shirt.
Oh, never mind. You learned 3 cantrips. Mage Hand and 2 others of your choice from Wizard. That was it.
There we go. So yeah, I could definitely see Arcane Trickster working there. Say that or Soul Knife. Both kind of work. I think for Soul Knife, mechanically, the thing that would be nice is you get a lot of psychic damage mixed with Fey Wanderer. Fey Wanderer, honestly, I'm sure we talked about it when we went through this in Tasha's for the Ranger, which I'll do my wavy bits. The Fey Wanderer just isn't that impressive to me. I don't love it as a subclass. Its 3rd level ability in combat is that you can deal an extra 1d4 psychic damage to a target once per turn. And that's very much trying to take the place of the need for favored foe or hunter's mark every single turn and always having your concentration on that. I get it. But otherwise, they don't get anything for in combat. Even their spells that they get until 5th level with Misty Step, just nothing really combat focused. So from that perspective, it's not like a ton of crossover, but an extra D4 psychic damage and getting your favorite foe, mixing that with the Soul Knife, which of course does psychic damage, means that you're really never having to worry about resistances, and you're just doing a good bit of psychic damage, which again just very uncommon that a creature is resistant to psychic or has any type of damage play with that. But it is always a shame to me that Fey Wanderer just isn't more interesting mechanically.
Yeah, they could have done a lot more with it. And instead, you kind of get this half glamour rogue or ranger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird way of putting it, but it's true.
Yeah.
So even at 7th level, you get this ability to, what is it, charm or frighten a creature. And that's,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's something, I guess. But frightened is pretty good, at least.
Sure. Yeah, that's when if somebody succeeds on being charmed or frightened, you could have it target someone else.
Yes.
That's what that one is. So like you have to have that happen around you, and then you could have another creature make a saving throw to then be charmed or frightened. If someone succeeds, like all the stars need to align, and then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, someone's frightened for a minute.
And saying you really don't have any way to cause the frightened condition unless the Rangers get some fear spells that I'm not aware of. But
I don't think so.
so, anyways, that subclass still just doesn't do it for me.
I do not care for the Fae.
Yeah, I don't think a multiclass with a rogue makes it better. There's not a whole lot of synergy there.
Well,
No,
it does.
It just universally does.
I would argue that a 3-level dip does make a rogue, I won't say better, but it does add something. It adds spellcasting, couple levels of it, which otherwise rogues don't get. Even Arcane Trickster, is really limited. Ranger's pretty limited too, but it creates a specific theme. Also get Favored Foe, which is just free damage, and it's up to proficiency bonus.
I was talking the other way. If you're a Fey Wanderer and then multiclassing in a rogue, like I guess
every single direction, you're gonna get something, and it's always been the case and always will be. Just because these classes do have something on the table for you now.
That's fair. Kind of a multiclass and a rogue could be beneficial for any class and play style because of like cutting action.
Yeah,
disengages bonus action and stuff like that. But like uniquely to the Fey Wanderer, there's like, all right, here's all the shortcomings of it. Does the rogue plug those holes? It's like, no, not really.
No, it just adds more damage.
Yeah. And more maneuverability.
Yes. So, no, does it solve anything that we dislike about the Fey Wanderer? No, not really. I don't know if anything would, though. Maybe a paladin.
Sure. Druid, probably. Just lean more into the spellcasting side of it.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah. I think a Swarmkeeper rogue could be really cool. And there's a lot of subclasses you could do there. And you play up the Swarm as helping you with your heists and your little misdeeds and your mischief.
Ooh, so it's not just, you don't just control bees, you control sneaky bees.
Yeah. Thief bees.
Ooh, ghost bees.
Perfect. Oh, a phantom rogue.
Yes. you carry around with you a dead swarm that like a ghost swarm of tiny little insects. And
Perfect.
The reasoning is because you destroyed a beehive when you were a kid and they haunted you. And then you found a symbiotic relationship?
Yeah, or just an ancient, a timeless beehive.
I don't know whose idea sounds more ridiculous.
I don't know. But it would this would have to be kind of silly, but you can still have a lot of fun with it, even in a serious campaign. Where like Whispers of the Dead was the Phantom Rogue ability, where when you finish a short or long rest, choose one skill or tool proficiency that you lack and gain it. And it's the flavor is like a ghostly presence shares its knowledge with you and helps you out with that. So it's the bees.
Yes. 100%.
These like ultra intelligent, timeless, immortal bees that have been around so much, they just absorb all this knowledge and skill, and like they don't have the hands to do it themselves, but they could pass it along with you.
Somehow every piece of information they share with you relates to honey or pollen or just general bee things. Then if you wanted to not have the insect flavor, you really could. You could drop it entirely and just have the swarm be just spirits. Just
Yeah, just phantoms, just kind of
yeah,
invisible.
exactly. And that I think transfers over really well. It would be like a flavor tweak to the
Hmm.
Swarmkeeper, but would by no means step on what is there or make anything feel out of place. Say the mage hand is still a mage hand. Maybe
Right.
web, it gets the web spell. I don't know. It's ectoplasm. Who cares?
And Whales from the Grave with Swarmkeeper gets a lot better flavor baked in. That's one where when you hit something with sneak attack, you could damage. Sorry, yeah, when you damage a creature sneak attack, you could target a second creature they could see within 30 feet of that first creature. Roll half the number of sneak attack dice for your level, and the second creature takes necrotic damage equal to the roll's total. And it's flavored as the Wails of the Dead sound around them. And that flavor always felt a little weird. I was like, I do sneak attack over here, and then you get a little bit of damage over here
Uh
from,
huh.
I guess, dead people screaming in your ear.
Yeah,
And this
but
can
just
only
you.
happen, yeah. And it can only happen when you do sneak attack and you're limited based on your proficiency bonus per long rest. It felt like this kind of weird flavor limited thing. So Swarmkeeper, that makes sense. It's your bees or your phantoms or whatever. Like as they're distracted by what's happened to the person over there, swarms them.
Yeah, and then Swarmkeeper as well just is always a fantastic choice, just because it has this swarms assisting you with the gathered swarm ability as it is, and once on each of your turns when you hit a creature with an attack, you can either add an extra 1d6 piercing damage, you can try to push them 15 feet in any direction with a strength saving throw, or you can move yourself 5 feet in a direction of your choice. So just kind of increasing that mobility. Later on, you of course get the ability to fly like 10 feet, not super fast, but still
Right.
you can fly. I don't think there's any way that the swarm can help you with getting sneak attack or even hiding or anything like that, unless there's some spells that I'm not familiar with.
Fairy Fire. They get Fairy Fire, which will obviously help you get sneak attack,
Okay, that's a good point.
which is nice. And then in kind of indirect ways, so like you are moved. So you said like you can move yourself 5 feet. The wording is you are moved by the swarm 5 feet, which means that will not provoke opportunity attacks.
Oh,
And so you could save the rogue's bonus action where instead of disengaging, they can now dash to get to a better position to get themselves sneak attack, or be able to then run away and hide to then get advantage on the next attack and get themselves sneak attack.
or use steady
So,
aim. Just thinking of how that
oh
optional
yeah,
feature would cross over. If you're pushing yourself 5 feet, you can still move that 5 feet, but steady aim generally says you have to have not used any movement that turn. This would get around that. It's obviously not
yeah,
a massive distance that you're crossing here, but if it's enough to get your ranged attack into a straight roll instead of disadvantage, then that would be, well, I guess it would then be advantage. Because if you're, within 5 feet, you push yourself back, you do steady aim, you now have advantage on the attack instead of what you would have had was disadvantage or canceled out if you used steady aim and just stood there.
sure. That won't come online until fifth level ranger. Just keep that in
Yes,
mind because you have to be able to get that movement. You have to first hit
make
them.
an attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, does it
So
specifically say when you hit with an attack? Yeah, when you hit a creature with an
immediately
attack, you
after you
get
hit
to
a
do this. Yeah,
creature.
yeah.
Yeah. So that could get a little weird. Like you have to then have a disadvantaged attack that you hope hits to push yourself 5 feet away to then steady aim to give yourself an advantaged attack.
It really depends on what type of character you're using. I could see that working if you were doing like a one hand sword and a hand crossbow. I know it's getting a little specific, but if you are just trying to get yourself that distance, though, if that's the way you're playing, maybe crossbow expert is up your alley,
Yeah, I
and you
was
just
gonna
don't worry
say.
about that
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
But otherwise, just that consistent 1d6 additional piercing damage. How can you turn that down?
Yeah. No, definitely. Swarmkeeper, I love. It's great. I think mixed with Rogue could be a lot of fun. A lot of cool ways to use your swarm for roguish things and
Sneaky bees.
vice versa. Yep.
I
I kind of teased at some traps early on.
Yeah.
I think the new Beastmaster and Drake Warden would not work because they're
No.
so bonus action heavy. Both of those are you control your companion, the Drake or the Beast, with your bonus action. And rogues generally have a use for the bonus action almost every single turn, and you don't want to be fighting those two things. If you are a Drake Warden and then multiclass and the rogue, you're honestly, I think, just hurting yourself because you're slowing down the range of progression to get cunning action, which you won't be able to use every time because you'll want to be attacking with your Drake. Or if you are attacking with your Drake, then why'd you waste the 2 levels to go into rogue to
It's
get
a good
cunning
point.
action?
Yeah, the only benefit, and I don't think it's enough, is that you can command it to get into position to give you sneak attack easier.
That's
But
true. Okay, that's
and it
that
can
is
use its
nice.
movement without you using your bonus action.
Right. Okay. Yeah, maybe I might have jumped too quick to that conclusion because they also then get a reaction.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like the Drake specifically, then Fuse strikes when you hit another creature within 30 feet of the Drake that it could see, hits a target with a weapon attack. I think they're rather wrong, but when you hit something within 30 feet of the Drake infuses a strike with its essence, causing the target take an extra 26 damage, and that goes up with as level stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So that does actually kind of fit well with
Yeah,
Ranger.
maybe it would be okay. And then it's a tank, like the Drakes and the Beasts, like they can absorb damage
Uh-huh.
that aren't on you or other party members. They could give you sneak attack. Okay. Okay, I'm backing up on that.
And to
That might
add to
actually
that,
work well.
a lot of the scaling on these new things they're proficiency based, which
Right.
no slowdown
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Except
always
for
nice.
hit points.
Except for
except for hit points.
That's 5 + 5 times your ranger level for the Drake. The Beastmaster companions are a little different.
Okay,
depending on what you
but
pick.
if you go mostly into Ranger, then you're not slowing it down terribly. I know we generally talk about it's like, yes, you're slowing it down, but with only a first level spell slot to get it back, I don't think that it's too terrible having like 15 less HP or something. And then if you
That's
go
true.
into Assassin Rogue, then you now have the ability to be a dragon assassin. Like you ride a dragon up to castle walls and you just get off your dragon and go into the king's quarters and stab him in the middle of the night, hop on your dragon and fly away. And oh my god, I love that flavor.
I love it too. That's super high level though.
How so?
You can't fly on your Drake until 15th.
I thought you could do it at 7th, but
It gets flight, but
oh, it's right. You can't mount it and fly on it. Well, you can still climb up
Right.
the wall. It's got a climb speed, doesn't it? It doesn't have a climb
No,
speed.
it doesn't have
Why
a
doesn't
climb
it have a climb speed? Can you cast Spider Climb on your Drake to have it climb up the walls for you?
I'm sure you could.
Okay, then I guess we're doing that.
I would say that sort of thing you could have done pre Drake Warden, like you could have just done it with the player handbook. Ranger, Rogue, Multiclass, the Assassin, and just the original Beastmaster, because you could be a small creature, and
Oh, right.
based on the limitations of the Beastmaster, you could have picked like I think a pterodactyl. There was a couple flying things
Yeah.
you could have picked that were medium. Since you were small, you could mount on them and fly. So you could do that, just not with the Drake Warden.
Yeah, it's cooler with the Drake Warden.
It is.
And if I remember correctly on our Drake Warden episode, just let people be on the flying creature at 7th level. That's my hot take. It's
You
fine.
remember that. I'm
shut
about
you
to come
the fuck
to-
down about that.
What's that?
I think we shut you the fuck down on that.
And I still think it's wrong because some races literally get a flying speed at 1st level and fly as a spell.
Agree that it's ridiculous.
And fly as a spell comes on at what 5th level?
It's a 3rd level spell, so 5th
Yeah.
level slots. Or
It's-
jeez. Yeah, reverse those.
It's a 5th level spell, so 3rd level slots.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, I really hope that all gets updated. We've been playing D&D since 5th edition, at least since it came out, and we still
Mess up the spell slots and spell levels.
spell slots versus spell levels and confuse ourselves.
Mhm.
It's- okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm coming to the table with the Drake Warden in our next big campaign, which I know we will get to 7th.
Yeah.
And I have a longbow,
Okay.
so you'll let me fly on the Drake in combat at 7th level.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you do a lot of broken stuff for the Ranger. We're gonna try out the changes we're talking about with Ranger. It's probably gonna feel a whole lot stronger. And
Great.
just like usual, I'm going to have ranged combatants and things that spell cast and target you flying. And if you fall off of your Drake at 30 feet in the air and take an extra 3d6 damage, that's fine with me too. It'll be fun.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. You heard it here, folks. Give every single one of your players a fly speed. There's nothing wrong with
it. That is exactly what I'm saying. So yeah, I do think overall that's much cooler with the rogue assassin aspects, though. I don't know. I'm sure there's other ways you could take that too.
With Drake Warden?
Yeah, with Drake Warden.
Yeah.
I like the assassin the most, though. Thief would just be if you're sneaking into buildings with your dragon.
I see. A thief gets like a climb speed, and that's one of their big things.
Yeah.
And then fast hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think any of that really layers over. Could be a swashbuckler,
Scout,
be a pirate.
A dragon pirate.
Yes, dragon pirate.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love it. Scout would work. Dragon Scout.
Oh yeah,
mounted. Yes, patrolling the land, scouting out, mounted on your Drake. That's cool, especially once you can fly.
Yeah, that's super fitting.
I can see Mastermind as well as like an intimidation factor. I mean, that's just like a cool thing I could see in a lot of different stories about like the mastermind of a criminal syndicate has a literal dragon as like a pet. And it's like, I understand it's a Drake, but same sort of thing. That just seems very fitting.
Yeah. Stepping away from the Drake Warden, you mentioned that the Beastmaster also would not work. Do you think that your opinions have changed due to the ability to give you sneak attack?
Yeah, that might be worth it. The revised Beastmaster that's in Tasha's, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because then at least, if you do have 2 attacks, which as a ranger level 5, you'd have 2 attacks, you can forego one of yours to let your beast attack. And since it can move, I forget if that changed. Can it move whenever on your turn? Does it have to be at the end of your turn? Because that one's always weird. Because if you forego one of your attacks, then it has to be basically next to the creature already.
In combat, the beast acts during your turn. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action you can take is dodge unless you use bonus action.
Okay. Blah. And then you can forego one of your attacks to let it attack instead. So yeah, that works out.
Yeah, once you get high enough in it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, say they have other aspects. For example, the Beast of the Land in the optional Beastmaster in Tasha's has the charge ability so that it can knock creatures prone. Another way to give you advantage on top of sneak attack, obviously, but advantage means more crits, and no one's upset about that.
Right. Beast of the Sky is actually just a stronger version of what I did with Find Familiar.
Oh yeah,
with my Arcane Trickster rogue, where like I used an owl with flyby, and I used that to give myself sneak attack all the time when I played that character.
Yeah, this wouldn't even take up. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I used my. Was it bonus action to control it? I don't remember. Find Familiar.
I don't think so.
No,
I think
rolled
it's just
on initiative.
Mm-hmm.
What you did was you readied your action.
Yes, right. That was it. So you were burning your reaction and only getting 1 attack instead of 2. Right. Whereas this, it can just move.
Yeah. And also the Familiar adds 1 health.
Yes, that part was pretty easy to shut down.
Died a lot. The Beast of the Sky, it's a small beast. 13 plus proficiency bonus in AC, so a lot higher than Familiar. Hit points of 4 plus 4 times your ranger level. So a lot more hit points. Fly speed of 60 feet and the flyby ability, so it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. And then it would go on your turn as a free thing.
I would actually argue
so that's a lot better.
That for 3 levels in Ranger, that could be worth it if you were trying to play up that character. Because that's, as you said, it's a better Find Familiar by a lot. And it's never going to have so much health that it can tank hits by any means. But if you're not using it for that and you're just using it to try and get your sneak attack, that works out really well.
Right. And survive some hits.
Yeah. And it can literally just dodge every action if you want.
Right.
Because it doesn't you don't have to command it to dodge, right?
Nope. That's the only action it takes is
Yeah.
the dodge on its own.
Perfect. So literally every turn you just have it fly by and get you your sneak attack if you need it. And then if it's
Yep.
not, it's dodging for free, effectively making its AC 13 plus your proficiency bonus plus 5. You could
Yeah.
mathematically argue.
Yep.
So that's and advantage on dexterity saving throws. So yeah. And then it's probably not even going to be within range of melee combatants because it has flyby.
Right.
So that sounds really annoying. Even the familiar was annoying. That sounds super annoying.
Right. And then with the 3-level dip, you get favored foe. Sorry, it's hard to like pull up the list now because the ranger table shows the old abilities, which are all shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get your ranger spellcasting, you get a fighting style, you get the Beastmaster stuff we just talked about, and then canny. This is getting hard to navigate. Where you basically get expertise in 2 additional languages,
Yes.
and then a favorite foe, some additional ranger spell levels, and then the primal awareness of just like a prepared spell of speak of animals. So yeah, I think that's a really good dip as a rogue.
Yeah.
3 levels into the new Beastmaster. And then you have the versatility where you don't have to stick to a certain beast type. Every time you bring it out, you choose. And so generally you'd probably want to do the Beast of the Sky, but you have the versatility to not do that when needed, which is really great. Or still have them attack because they do hit decent. Like if you have your 2 attacks and you do the first one where you get sneak attack, then like your next rogue attack, you don't get sneak attack. It's not that great. You could have the beast attack.
It's true. For the Beast of the Sky, or I'll just say for any of these, it might be a little tough because it is the melee weapon attack is your spell attack modifier to hit. So you do need to have your wisdom up decently.
Oh, right.
But that's not too bad when you're a rogue. I mean, you have dexterity to worry about, but that's it. And even then, going ranger gives you medium armor proficiency. So while getting to 20 dexterity is obviously nice for all of your attacks and damages, and everybody loves getting to 20. I mean, can't argue with anything there.
Sure.
But you can put some time into going into wisdom. It's not like you're going to be holding back all of your rogue abilities because your dexterity is at 18 instead of 20.
Right. Yeah, and then on the turns where you don't have a use for your rogue bonus action, you will then always have a use of commanding your beast to attack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, I've completely come around on this. The Drake Warden or the Beast as a Ranger Rogue multiclass. That's awesome. I'm glad we talked that one out.
Always good to. And I'm still not entirely sure. I'm trying to get like the rogue flavor in other ways, at least on the mastermind, did you say, or was that inquisitive? Mastermind that you're talking about.
Yeah, for like the Drake Warden, because you're the mastermind of the criminal syndicate with a Drake pet.
Okay.
Just for like the coolness factor, the intimidation factor. Yeah, that's all.
Literally, or that, or your wolf spirit or whatever combination of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your eagle. Oh, that's actually making me think of Mordecai from Borderlands, which that's it. Reference for me. I don't know if y'all have played Borderlands, but
long time ago.
Yeah, guy with a hawk.
Based off Falconer.
Yeah, he's a falconer. That's it. That's the class right there. A falconer,
okay.
and a sniper as well. So somebody who stays far back sends their falcon out to cause a distraction, and then pops headshots.
Okay. Yeah, and that would work perfect with the Scout Beastmaster.
Yep, that would definitely work.
Yeah.
And just give you so many skills.
Yeah. And the longbow point is something good for it. It's just the general class. Rogues don't get longbow proficiency.
Oh.
With the ranger, they do. Yeah, that's something everyone forgets. They do not get longbow proficiency. They get simple weapons, and then I think like short bows and
crossbows.
Hand crossbows.
Yeah, simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords.
Now that surprises me. I would have expected at least normal crossbows. So their damage die really isn't that impressive.
Yeah, D6s.
They don't have a way of getting a D8.
Oh,
unless they're... What's that?
Longsword.
Oh, yes. I was going to say they don't have a way of getting a ranged D8. or
No.
D10, obviously, with
Yeah.
the heavy crossbow. But that's its own limiting factor. Though
Which I find.
go ahead.
Oh, go on.
Okay, I was going to say that I even without crossbow expert, I think this might make a heavy crossbow okay to use, because then you could use your second attack for your beast if that was your focus. So you might not need to get crossbow expert to take 2 shots in a turn.
Right. What I was going to say, I find it interesting rogues get longsword proficiency. It's not a finesse weapon.
Oh, it's not, is it?
No.
Hmm.
So you don't get sneak attack off of it. Because I was trying to think like, oh, they got longsword proficiency. Have I ever seen a longsword rogue? Nope.
No, because rapiers exist,
Yeah.
but that's its
Huh.
own problem.
Well, yeah.
Not that
Well,
they
it's just not being
exist.
finesse.
Yes.
Yeah. Back onto some new stuff. Favorite foe is worth talking about. The new ranger optional feature, which kind of replaces favorite enemy and also somewhat hunter's mark in a way. The gist of favorite foe is when you hit an enemy with an attack, you can mark it as your favorite foe and then do an extra 1d4 damage to it each turn. You do have to concentrate on it, and that's it. There's no limit. Oh, never mind. Yeah, up to your proficiency bonus. You gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
There you go.
But it doesn't take your bonus action. That's the big thing.
Yes.
And we've gone back and forth about Hunter's Mark, favorite foe, stuff like that. Very strong opinions online about it. With a rogue multiclass, so I think favorite foe benefits them a lot because, as we talked about, the rogue has a lot of strong uses for their bonus action, and then having to do hunter's mark with that as well and switch it around can kind of suck. So having a favorite foe where it's bonus action free, and then the rogue could still do all their bonus action glory stuff, I think is really nice.
Yeah, definitely makes it a lot more interesting. I think we even said this when we first talked about the ranger. Favored foe just does very little for the ranger if you're going straight ranger compared to hunter's mark. But if you're multi-classing, favored foe is actually great. The fact that you get more uses based off of your proficiency bonus means that you don't have to worry about the level scaling, and it more or less just becomes some free damage that you get on top of things. But it's like, but compared to hunter's mark, why would you ever bother?
It depends on building too. Like if you have a use for your bonus action where you have like 2-weapon fighting and bonus
Sure.
action extra attack, or crossbow expert and shoots things with a hand crossbow, things like that, having the use of the bonus action is better on things that die quicker.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't want to waste favorite foe nor hunter's mark on things that die quick. Like if it's a goblin that's going to be killed in 2 hits, like don't do any on it. It's just a waste. So I don't know. Reopen that can of worms. That'll be fun for us.
Yeah, it's we're closing it.
Yeah.
No more worms.
No more worms.
But I think the only other one, and this isn't again like a crossover from a mechanical sense, though I'm sure we'll get into that. The Monster Slayer Ranger, and mixing with, I don't know if I'd want to do one of the new ones, but I'm sure you could think of something doing Monster Slayer and Phantom. That I'm just thinking of like the tortured monster hunter who just has their inner demons. Just could see something cool there. I'm sure that it's fine mechanical crossover, just because the Monster Slayer was just kind of solid, just give some extra damage, and that's about it at low levels. But yeah, could be kind of like a ghost hunter style as well. I don't know. That's the ghost hunter haunted by ghosts. That's what I got.
No, I like that. That's awesome. Fighting to not become the thing they hunt, that sort of deal.
Yeah.
That kind of edge. Yeah, that's always fun. Yeah.
Just the right amount of edge.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I got.
Yeah. I think so. I'm just kind of looking up and down the features real quick. At level 10, Rangers now get Nature's Veil, where they could turn invisible for a turn. Like, that's useful for Rogue. I mean, it's all the way 10th, so a lot of people will never see this at all, let alone in a multiclass, but...
Definitely could be nice, though. I mean, especially if you're talking about a 3-level dip into Rogue, which I think this can very much get out of it. That makes the Nature's Veil, which I otherwise would say is pretty uninteresting, gives it some more use. It's another use of your bonus action, which kind of stinks. But yeah, hey, free invisibility when maybe you're otherwise unable to hide. Your DM throws a white room fight at you, like where there's literally nothing besides just blank space. It's like, what are you going to hide behind? Nothing, but I can hide in plain sight now.
Yeah. And you're right, it does take a bonus action, but by turning invisible, it does essentially act as a disengage.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to see what you do an opportunity attack against. And then it also acts as steady aim because it gives you advantage on that first attack. Or all of the attacks. This doesn't break if you attack. It's just until the start of your next turn, you're invisible.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, so you get the advantage, so they'll trigger sneak attack. Any attack against you has disadvantage if they even know where you're at. So it's overall, I say it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's just high level. That's only problem.
Yeah, but as you say, it synergizes really well. And if you were to get to like a level 14 or so, serves as a pretty nice capstone, in my opinion, on a campaign. If some of your final few fights you're able to do this, you're going to get a lot of use out of it.
Right. But yeah, other than that, I don't think I have anything new to bring up to talk about.
I have one final thing, and it's kind of tangential, but the blind fighting rogue combo. You have to go find darkness somewhere else in the rule set, but it is a very powerful combo.
You're saying giving blind fighting to a rogue? Why is that?
Because you get advantage.
Yeah, because Rangers get fighting styles, rogues don't. And the new optional rules, they get blind fighting, where they have blind sense within 10 feet of them. And then if they are somehow able to cast darkness,
this is my advice: team up with somebody else at the table.
What? That's insanity.
No.
This isn't a team.
Your DM is going to get pretty mad, but your warlock fighter, rogue ranger, multi-class team is going to screw some stuff up.
I love that. Yeah. They drop the darkness spell, and then you got two of the characters who can essentially see through it.
And you, of course, need to go Gloom Stalker.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Which we didn't talk about at all this time. I'm positive we talked about it the last time we discussed it.
I'm sure we did.
Gloom Stalker Assassin is an absolutely amazing combo. We didn't bring it up this time because this is trying to focus on new stuff when possible. But yeah, that would work very well with a Gloom Stalker Assassin.
Gloom Stalker anything, really?
Yes, yeah.
It's good. Gloom Stalker Phantom. Now that's a cool, edgy class.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be so scary.
How is it scary? What about it is scary? Oh, the sneak attack damage?
Gloom. Stalker.
No, just
those
like
are
it would
both
be like
spooky words.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's all like the Gloom Stalker is all about hiding in the dark and assassinating from the dark and being a master of the dark, and then add like spirits and ghosts to them. They're like just like a scary monster. Yeah, it's scary.
That sounds like a really, really terrifying NPC to have to fight.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And that's the type of stuff that I do love as a DM. So when I look at those and I go, wow, if a player played that, I'd be so annoyed. But if it was an enemy that they had to deal with for one combat, that's good.
Yeah. And then Gloom Stalker Soul Knife would just be annoying.
How so?
Because Soul Knife gets a ranged, right?
Yes.
One of their attacks could be ranged. So they could be doing that from darkness where no one can see them. And getting sneak attack off of it.
And basically hanging out in the darkness.
Yeah. Because Gloom Stalker, if a creature is relying on dark vision to see you, they can't see you.
Yeah.
That's also how it means your players if you make a Gloom Stalker NPC.
See, now, this is where I come back to the whole, like, giving flying at 7th level is going to be too strong. It's like, that's just a thing that the Gloom Stalker can do all the time. Just being completely invisible in darkness if creatures rely on dark vision to see. I think the flying aspect, as long as you're not also invisible and flying,
right,
will be fine.
Yeah.
Can throw some javelins at you.
I'm glad you came around to that. We've definitely argued about that on the show before.
We
About the
argue
first
about a
level
lot of
flying
things.
and stuff, yeah.
First level, I still agree that I don't like it because I think it takes away a lot of low level challenges, and I just don't like that. But once fly is a spell, then that is already able to be gotten around, and it's not like you'd be able to carry the entire party all the time over things.
Right.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I
especially
mean,
with like Drake Warden, I'm fairly certain only you can ride it.
yes.
Like it dies or something,
yes.
someone else gets
It
that.
just explodes.
Yeah, you can use the Drake as a mount if your size is medium or smaller.
Yes.
So,
Otherwise, it's limited by its strength score carrying capacity to actually carry people.
right.
And that's
What
not
goes size
mounted.
medium? Yes, I guess if someone else is small, they could.
Sure.
But regardless, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the intent is it's too unruly. Someone who's not the Drake Warden tries to mount it is
Yeah.
just gonna kick him off.
It's the Charizard problem. You don't have enough badges. We talked about this. Yeah. I don't have a segue.
Segue.
Oh, no. No. The Pokemon joke ruined it for me. Nothing. That's
so
it.
Metallic Dice Games is pretty great.
You want to talk about them?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they have really cool dice.
Yeah, what
Like
about them?
beautiful metal dice and gem dice. Also plastic dice, like resin dice and all of that. Just really cool, beautiful options, dice accessories. And you can get 10% off using the code MM10 when you check out.
Ooh, they
The
actually
whole order.
they have dice with like liquid inside of them too.
Yeah, those are cool.
My wife just got, and those are really neat.
Yeah.
I really do need to have one of their dice around to like hold up to the camera at least, and then it'll be out of focus for 20 minutes, and we
Right.
can mess with that.
His
It's always
webcams are
fun.
terrible about that.
Yeah. Thank you for carrying that amazing segue. And thank you to our patrons, Ed G, Moto Wait, Brian H, Craig A, Isaac M, Jeth W, Luca L, Star Shinobi, Vincent M, Bob F, Joe P, Rick D, Sensible D20, Tyler S, Adam A, and Rob K. You all are great, and if you want to support the show, you can head on over to monstersmulticlass.com/support, and you can find all of our affiliates as well as our Patreon, where you can get access to episodes at least one day early most of the time.
You really got to stop pitching that as a benefit.
You keep delivering, so no. And Bob F, I apologize for saying swashbucklers are pirates, but also I don't apologize. And what else? Is that it?
Dude,
That's the episode? All right.
yeah.
We're done.
As always, thanks for watching.
Super clean close.
Oh, yeah.